When it comes to getting motivated, people often wonder how to find that when it's something that they are really resisting and don't particularly feel like they actually want to do. They might want the end result, but getting started is a problem. Because it's not just about actually sitting down to do the thing, but it's all about how you feel about it and how you think about it and talk about it in the running up to actually doing it. If you think about the word holiday, how does that feel to you? And then now contrast that by thinking about working overtime, for example. You can actually literally feel a difference in your body. So you might sit up a little bit straighter thinking about holiday, or you might feel a sinking feeling in your stomach thinking about the thought of working overtime. Words have an emotional charge to them, and so you can literally feel a difference in your body when you say different words based on your associations with them. And in the context of making any change in your life, the words that you use when you're thinking or speaking to yourself have that same level of importance. So, working backwards, when you want to do something different, it means that you need to act differently. And so you need to think differently so that you can tap into the motivation that will actually get you to start to move in a new direction. And motivation requires just two ingredients. So it's interest in the thing in the first place and some level of belief in the possibility that you can achieve it or complete it, whatever it is. And those two things alone just give the energy to the body and create a sense of possibility. So it moves the goals from feeling a bit abstract maybe or out of reach and into making them possible for you to do, which will cause motivation to help you get started. If you're making £60,000 a year and you're saying to yourself, well, I want to be a millionaire one day, that is quite a big leap and possibly too big a leap for a lot of people to get on board with. There's such a gap, and there are a lot of different associations around what a millionaire is and the type of work you have to do to get there and the amount of effort that you have to put in, that often just even using that word millionaire sort of prohibits you from ever getting started because it's such a big stretch from where you currently are. Instead, a different word that you could use would be to create surplus in your life. And instead of all that stress and pressure and hard work that you associate with being a millionaire, maybe surplus is, well, I have enough to cover my basics and a bit more. So actually I'd be really comfortable, and that feels, it's not too far off from where I am right now. It's an achievable thing, something that I can work towards. And so even just that quick change, it just provides a sense of opportunity and some interest in actually doing that thing. Create some energy in your body and it feels possible. And so you can start to work towards that and then build and layer on that and progress towards being a millionaire eventually from that level. And a really big one for me is the word work. I've never really known what that means. You know, at school, people would say, oh, you have to work hard to be successful. You have to work hard to do well in your exams. You have to work hard to get to where you want to go. But what does working hard even mean? You know, nobody explains that bit, and I guess it's subjective for everyone. But for me, and I think, you know, society in general, people associate working hard with the amount of hours that you put in, the time that you spend doing whatever thing it is that you need to be doing. And I kind of took that weird relationship with the word work into the world of work. You know, I left my job a few years ago because ultimately I burnt out. My relationship with working and working hard and doing well was very out of balance. So I was working really long hours, there were a lot of tight deadlines, and the pressure was pretty relentless. So I left that job to start to work for myself. But even then, at that point, when I had no one else to answer to, I could choose exactly how I spent my own time. I was still kind of forcing myself to try and fit into a typical working 9 to 5 day. And I felt stressed when I was late for work in the morning. And, you know, if I finished at 4 and didn't have any more inspiration for anything else to do, I would still sit there until 5, because then I felt like I'd completed my day, and that meant that I'd done a good job at work that day. It just didn't make any sense. Thankfully, you know, a couple of years on from that now, I have a much better balance. But there is still, and can be, you know, a niggling sense of pressure if I felt like I hadn't done enough work based on the number of hours I put in that day. And working for myself now, there are also things that I want to do, things that I feel inspired to do and I feel really fulfilled by when they're done. But I still refer to it all as work. So I think, oh, I need to start doing work, or I should really get on with some work now. But when I say it in that way, it feels so hard to get motivated and to actually do those things, because I'm still referring to it as work. And work to me, based on everything at school and everything in my previous jobs, it feels like stress in some way, and it feels like sacrifice and pressure and long hours and exhaustion. And it was something that I had to do to earn money, not something that I chose to do because I really wanted to, or I was inspired or fulfilled by it. And recently I was listening to Abraham Hicks, who was talking to someone who had pretty much the same challenge. They were saying, I want to earn money or just have money come into my life without having to work for it and struggle to achieve it. And Abraham was sort of talking them through a process, saying, have you ever been inspired to do something and you took that action and felt good about doing it? And the person was saying, yes, it didn't have to be a work situation necessarily, just anything you were inspired to do and you felt good after doing it. And then Abraham said, have you ever taken action and then been paid for it? And again, the person said, well, yes, I have. I can think of an example where I've done that in the past. And then they were asked, have you ever been inspired and taken action based on that inspiration and you felt really good and then been paid for it? And again, they said, yes, it didn't have to be a work situation, but there were things that they had done in their past. They felt inspired by, they took action and they got paid. And then Abraham asked, instead of work then, can you think of it as taking paid action? And actually that difference, that subtle shift in just the words that they were using to describe exactly the same things that they were doing, made all the difference to that person. And actually to me too, it felt so much better for me to think about doing things that were paid action rather than work. Thinking about the word action felt much more manageable and doable. It was much more bite-sized compared to work, which just felt to me to be all-consuming and never-ending and really relentless. The words that we use for anything are just so important, and they can make such a difference to get us into action and away from feeling stuck when there is something that we have been struggling with. It's really worth just playing around and taking some time to notice how you feel when you describe situations, and play around using different words and notice if they increase energy in your body or if they decrease energy. Using language that causes strength and energy in your body means that you have new behaviour, new actions and new patterns, and therefore new results.